So we're like, let's go back. Let's go back. But then when we look back, it looked completely different where we were like, did we come from this way? It's only one way, but like if it looks different to you, I wouldn't go back. That's how like stuff like really messes you up. So then we end up coming around right to a point where we hear, I don't know if anyone's messing with us or anything like that, but we hear like a scream. And I don't know if y'all have ever heard a donkey scream, but it sounds like a person.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Out of the Box podcast, where Steele and I, your hosts, get to talk about outside of the box ideas. Today, we have a special guest here with us. Ryan is one of our good friends that we got to go to school with at St. Mary's. And he has also had some personal experiences with the Donkey Lady Bridge, which we talked about in a previous podcast. But since the spooky season is coming up, we kind of wanted to bring it back and talk a little bit more about what that experience was and get to share a little bit what the Donkey Lady Bridge is and what you can find in it. So without further ado, Ryan, if you want to kind of introduce yourself and kind of give us maybe a first story or personal experience with the Donkey Lady Bridge.
Yeah. So my name is Ryan. It's nice to meet y'all, and thank y'all so much for having me on here. I really appreciate it. So when I first heard this story, my aunt told me about it when I was younger, right? There's many stories. But the story that I was told was there's this lady, she's doing her own thing. She has kids and everything. This is like 1800s kind of era. But she wasn't a beautiful lady. She wasn't, she was kind of disfigured in a way on her own before anything had happened, right? And she was going on, there's a bridge, right? It's called Donkey Lady Bridge for a reason, because she was on the bridge and people would like throw stones at her, call her names or whatever. And there's a little boy, right? There's a little boy that ended up messing with one of her like donkeys, because she had a donkey, right? She had a donkey and she was riding it and she's bringing it to town kind of thing. And the little boy was messing with it. Well, the donkey ended up hitting the kid, right? So the people ended up like throwing rocks at her, yelling at her, and she ended up getting hurt. She ran to her house, right? She ran to her house to flee for safety. And when she did that, the dad or the parent got upset. So they ended up setting her house on fire. Everybody in there, right? She screams for help. But nobody's there to help her. And she comes out burned all over. Her hands end up being melted together. So that's why they see like hooves in a way. Her feet are messed up and they are also burnt. And now she's disfigured. And when she became disfigured, they ended up killing her, like throwing her off the bridge, right? And that's the story I was told. But high school was the first time before I went to college with my friends, right? We went or whatever. We're like, okay, I was scared a little bit, but I was like, oh, whatever. This is just a folk story. But when we get there, there's nobody there. And usually when I go to parks or anything, this is like a park, right, in San Antonio or close by San Antonio, and nobody's there. And that was the first thing I was like, this is kind of weird. Are we going to get in trouble for being here? Or, you're not supposed to be at parks this late. So I'm already freaking out. This is my younger self, like, oh my God, we're going to get in trouble. Right. Well, the guy, he's the one that's telling me all this stuff, right? So we get on the bridge, right? When you first get there, the bridge is already there and there's like water just flowing right underneath it. He's like, listen to the bridge. I listen to the bridge, you can hear it flowing, the crackles in the woods and everything. So you're like, okay, getting that ambience in. And we go to the left and he's like, just realize every time we go further in, it's going to get darker. I don't know, it's just the way. And I was like, yeah, it's going to get darker because it's just later in the night.
Mm-hmm.
But you can hear cars in the background, so you're still in the city in a way. But the further we went in, like they have this like woodsy like arch, and once you go through there, everything's just pitch black. You can't hear the cars anymore. You can't look out to the side. And I didn't have like a good phone at the time. This is when I had like a low kick phone, sidekick phone or whatever. And it just kept getting darker. And for some reason, I just got heavy, like on my shoulders as we kept walking in. And I believe in a lot of stuff, right? And that's when I really started feeling like I shouldn't be here. This isn't okay. Like, so then we keep walking further in, right? It takes you like to another like archway. You can either go left or right, right? But on the left side, you can't see anything. And I don't remember seeing it either. So we go to the right because we don't want to go to a path we don't know. I was already like, I want to go home. And you can hear like the wind like brushing the leaves. But you know the difference from like leaves rolling from them being stepped on. And as we kept walking, you can hear them being cracked and stepped on, and just like then there's no wind, and you can still hear while you walk, it's cracking on your sides. That's weird to me. So I was like, I don't want to be here. And then Serena, right? She's like almost in tears at this point. So we're like, let's go back. Let's go back. But then when we look back, it looked completely different where we were like, did we come from this way? It's only one way, but like if it looks different to you, I wouldn't go back. You know, that's how like stuff like really messes you up. So then we end up coming around right to a point where we hear, I don't know if anyone's messing with us or anything like that, but we hear like a scream. And I don't know if y'all have ever heard a donkey scream, but it sounds like a person, right? So myself, right? It's a bad move, I know, but I ran, right? I ran. We were close by. I ran. Serena leaves with me, and we get to the car. It was like maybe like a 5 minute quick run, right? Maybe shorter than that. It just felt a long time when you're scared. You know, it just feels like eternity. Could have been like 20 seconds. I think we waited there for like a good like 10 minutes, like for sure, like a good 10 minutes. Cause I looked at my phone. I was just like, oh, I got to get home, get in trouble. And like 10 minutes pass and he's still not back. Right. So we're like, do we really have to go back in there? So I don't want to go back in there. I'm a little scared cat and like I can be brave or man or whatever, but like not when it comes to stuff like this. Like, no, there's no way you can play with this kind of stuff. And then we hear like, and then the other thing that was scary, in order for you to go in and out, you go across that bridge, right? When I went back, when I left, right, when I ran, you could not hear the water. And there's like a river in a way, right? You could not hear the water or anything like I told you in the beginning. And that was the freaky part because when I walked up on that bridge, like I was standing there going back for him, and then I was like, isn't there water here? And I like look down and you can see the water flowing, but it's not making any sound. So now I'm freaking out because I don't feel like I'm in the same realm. I don't feel like I'm in the same place as the where I was when I first started this. And then you see a figure with yellow eyes coming forward to us, right? And I scoot back, right? I'm like frozen. My arms are all goosebumps and everything. I'm like, oh shoot, do I run again? Like, do I wait? So I wait a little bit and we get in the car. Right? I was like, hey, where were you? What happened? Blah, blah, blah. He doesn't say anything. I don't know if he's mad or upset at us because we ran off without him. Again, this guy's like faster than me when we play tennis and he's like more athletic. And it was just like, why didn't you run? Like I was trying to make excuses like, hey, it's okay. Like, I'm sorry, but like you could have ran too or whatever, right? But it's not okay, right? All in all, it's not okay because after that day, he just wasn't the same.
Mm.
And like he wasn't rude, he wasn't mean, and he wasn't like we're not friends anymore, but he was just off, right? And then after that year, like we were in the same grade. He like disappears. Like I don't know if he moved schools or what happened, but he ends up moving, right? So now I'm like, whoa. And I never thought about it, right? Until the Lamontes and John and them are like, hey, let's go to Donkey Lady Bridge, right? So this is my second encounter, right? And now I'm freaking out because I'm like, I already had something like this. I already gone through something like this. And I didn't remember, and it kind of like slipped my mind about this guy. I was like, what happened to him? Because like after that year, again, we're on the tennis team, varsity, and everything. Like he would be on it, but he's not there, and nobody said anything. Why? Why wasn't that a question? You know, like if you disappeared, I'm sure like Steele would be like, hey, where'd you go? Right. Even if it's next year. But no one, like no one. because I asked my tennis friends when we were going to go back to this, hey, do you remember this guy? They're like, oh yeah, what happened to him? I was like, I don't know. Like, why didn't he show up in varsity the next year? He's like, I don't know. That's a good question. I was like, so now I'm freaking out because like, there's another like being or something that just like bamboozled us in a way. I feel like, right? So
Did
I'm
you
like
say he came out with his eyes yellow?
yellow, right?
What the heck?
And I was like, I don't know if it's reflection. You know how you sometimes take a picture and it's red eyed or right. But I was like, okay, whatever. And again, I felt bad, right? So at the moment, um, we end up going again. But I tell him what happened, like the same story I tell y'all. Because I'm scared, right? I'm scared, but I'll go. You know, I don't want my friends to go alone, especially like what I went through. And if they do the same mistake, like I don't want to leave anybody behind this time. So I tell them, right? It's me, Kitty, John, myself. I don't know who else went. I think there's 5 of us that went. Um, but we end up going, right? And I tell them like, hey, we're gonna stick together. Whatever happens, you know, if we gotta hold hands, so be it. Like, I don't care if y'all think you're manly man or whatever. Like, I'm not losing anybody, right? I tell them when we get on the bridge, like, listen to this bridge. You hear that water. It's gonna be key because once we get around or whatever realm we go through, you're not going to be able to hear sound anymore as it once was. So as we go through, right, everything's starting to like come back the same way, right? Everything's getting darker. And like we went at a time, like, yes, again, like the night comes through, but you know the difference from 8 p.m. to like 12 at midnight, right? It doesn't get that dark, especially if there's a lights on the other side, right? But if you're in the country, you know, you see the stars. But when you look up and it's pitch black and you don't see the stars, that's scary. Because now you're in a veil of shadow. And so once we're going in, we're holding hands and you can hear like rustling, right? We thought someone was messing with us, right? I think John, right? He's a spirited person, right? He's like trying to go looking. I was like, don't go in there. Like, don't step off the path. Like, that's something we didn't do. And maybe my friend did. You know, maybe he ran off, stepped off real quick, maybe his foot stepped, I don't know, like that could be the break that is needed. So we're yeah. And so then I told him like, hey, if we gotta hold hands, and we went with the twins, I believe, right? So we're holding hands or whatever, and you can tell how people are getting scared because like people are like backing off, and I'm like, hey, like we gotta just keep going. And like I think it was Talamantes that was like, I can't breathe, like he felt heavy. I was like, yeah, there's going to be pressure. The more that we go in, you're going to feel pressure on you, but we have to keep going. Like, if we go back, I'm not sure, but like, that's something we shouldn't do. And so we're going through everything. And again, you hear a scream. And John does this little like freak out kind of face. And I'm just like, no. I was like, no one run, right? Whatever. So we're just going now. We want to leave, right? Everyone wants to leave. We want to go. And when we get back to that bridge, right? Again, one of them says, I can't hear anything. I can't hear the water. I was like, I know. That's part of whatever we're in. This is it. And then we look back when I saw that my friend were at those yellow eyes. They weren't up there, but now they're like lower, like an animal. Again, those yellow eyes show again. You can ask John, you can ask Talamantes. Everyone saw it.
Everyone saw it, yeah.
Yeah, everyone saw it. Like I thought I was freaking out the first time, but the second time that it happened, there's no way.
Yeah, the chance of happening again, it's like, yeah.
Exactly. But those eyes were so like perfectly there. Like it was no glare. There was nothing. Again, it's like a bridge of like,
yeah.
There's nothing.
Weird. And but the first time, you know, they became the figure of your friend, right?
Yeah.
But this time it was just there.
It was just there. So it was a person, but now it was lower. It was like hip level.
Yeah.
Like you can look
almost
down
like a midget,
kind of like an animal, like it was looking up at you. And so I couldn't stop them, but everyone starts running, right? They all run. John and Talamantes are like the slowest. I don't know, but like John's very athletic. Again, John is very athletic. Talamantes, he doesn't run as fast, but Talamantes beat him. Like John was the last one, right? And John's more athletic than me at the time, even there, even now, whatever. But like he's like the most athletic of our group. Why was he the slowest?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
No one asked that, and I said like, John, what happened? Because I knew like he should have been faster. And he's like, I couldn't run. I just couldn't run. And Talamantes was like trying, but I think Talamantes stayed because he ran up but ran back because I ran back for John because I don't want to leave anybody again, right? I don't know if again this could like change someone's life or be a veil on top of them. So we end up getting in the car. Everyone's like freaking out. We can't breathe, right? We're like, did that just happen? I was like, yeah. And we end up leaving in the car and everyone was quiet. I was like, guys, we need to break the silence because this is kind of what happened last time when I was driving back with my friend. I don't know if that's part of it. I don't know if it's like a loop that happens, but there's something there, not only that wants to be attached to you, but actually like take like your happiness or your
like your energy.
yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting, because the times that I went, I felt that way. And I felt like something, got taken away from me that night. And I felt less happy after I went. I felt less energy. And then there was a strange period, and I just, in hindsight, thinking about it, um, after I graduated St. Mary's, came back home, and that was when I went a lot of times. I think I went at least 4 or 5 different times. But like I just had a lot of bad luck for some reason that whole year afterwards. Like bad things happened for the first time in my life. I started having anxiety that was so intense that I was getting somatic symptoms like stomach cramps and stuff. I had to like take like just different over the counter medications to handle it, and like insomnia. And it was like it was so bad. But then all of a sudden after that, I guess half a year passed, it started just slowly going away. And I often wonder, like, I don't know, was that tied to it?
I get you. I get you.
And now
Yeah.
that I hear you say it.
It's crazy because I think we kind of mentioned it in the previous podcast, but one of my friends that I got to go with, her whole family can actually see like spirits and ghosts and that kind of stuff.
Oh no.
And so she said, I was like, hey, can I take you to this place? And she also felt that like some sort of presence in Treadaway. She said that there was like some spirits in there, which is, for those who don't know, it's a dorm hall at St. Mary's. But I took her over there, and it was late at night too. And all of a sudden, Steele and we saw this little figure, and it was like, it had no form. It was just ovally, circular. And it was almost like like in the cartoons where they have some like, it's trying to become something like a little squiggle, like whatever. It's just moving very fast. And then all of a sudden it like shot to the side. And I was telling my friend, she didn't see it, but I described it to her, and she was like, while I was describing it, before I finished, she had finished drawing it out, and she showed me the image. She was like, is this what you saw? And I was like, what the heck? Like exactly what I had described. Even before I finished describing it, she had already finished like drawing it out.
It makes you think, and me and Jose saw it right about here on the bridge, right at the end. And it happens pretty fast, so it makes you wonder, oh, it's my mind. But then me and Jose both saw it. So when two people or more see it, it makes you think it can't be the mind, because the chance of two people seeing the same thing at the same time, hallucination, or even a trick of the mind, it's logically impossible. Like the brain can't.
Yeah.
And like what was crazy is that I asked her like, hey, it kind of ties in with what you guys are saying. I asked her like, what happens with them? Like, what are they? And she said that they were gnomes or something like that, like a gnome. And she said that these things can attach to you whenever you're in fear, and they drain your energy. Basically, that's what she said they do. Like they look for people who are scared, and they drain their energy. And I was like, what the heck, like,
yeah.
And it made sense, like what Steele had said and all that stuff, and, I don't know how many can attach to you. Like, I didn't go into detail, but like just that fact kind of like blew my mind.
Yeah.
And so like,
crazy.
it's just crazy, man. Like so many things that could be in there.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up the story, Ryan, because me and Jose looked at the Google Maps, and as we're seeing right now, there is a burned section, so it makes you wonder. Like, I mean, at least it looks burned. I don't know for a fact, but it makes you wonder if that's part of the remnants of that story. Um,
Mhm.
Like
but
maybe nobody's wanted to like restore that area or
yeah, I
something.
mean, for all it could be trash, but it could be burned. It looks kind of like a mixture of both. But also, I wanted to ask you, Ryan, before you jump into anything else, like, is there any other crazy things that you experienced at the Don Quixote Bridge or crazy?
Um, I don't think so. I think I've only gone twice. I did hear like when we would walk. I think Talamantes would know. I'm not sure if it happened or it was like afterwards because I had like a dream of it
Oh yeah,
after, and I was like, whoa, it was a little too real, and I was like, probably should like keep it to myself, right? I don't want to spread that energy, like they do
right.
tell you like, hey, yeah, tell people and make you feel better, but there's a reason. To me, I feel like there's a reason makes you feel better because that energy ends up going to someone else. Like, yes, that's why you have friends and you care for each other and all that because they're there to help that burden or uplift that from you. But it's like all energy just doesn't go away. You know what I mean? It's got to be equal somewhere. So someone else has to take that burden with you because now they're thinking of it. Now they're caring, right? And that's how that's that's a weird way of I feel like when people tell you you have to tell somebody because that energy just separates from you
It
in a portion.
that makes sense. Yeah, because I mean, energy cannot be created or destroyed. So I mean, it's got to go somewhere, like you're saying.
Yeah.
If that's the case, and
So I was afraid, right? But could have swore we heard like whispers and voices and stuff like that. But uh I just tried not to look back. And just kept telling them, like, just don't look back. I was more of like the guide of the whole thing.
right.
But even though I was the guide, it wasn't like I'm just trying to scare these people. It was more like I just don't want anybody to come out different.
Hmm.
Like my friend did.
What happened? Yeah.
Yeah. So that's that story.
What was that
Uh,
dream, dude? That sounds intense.
yeah. So what my dream was we ended up going again, right? Didn't want to, but one of us left our phones, right? Because we started like my dream started off, we were in the car. Like, hey, I lost my phone. I think I dropped it back there. We got to go back. Friends in the car. Again, this is a dream, so now it's all like disfigured, or it's been years. But like friends in the car, like, nah, we just forget about it, forget about it. And then maybe it was John or somebody like, are you gonna pay for my phone? Like, you gonna pay for it? Right. So we're like, no. So we're obviously gonna go back. Right? No, but we get there and it's like quiet again. Right. It's not like when you first roll up where you can hear everything, there's lights. No, like you can't even see the bridge. Like when you get there, there's a small parking lot. It's maybe like 8 cars can fit in there, right? There's no cars there. You get there, can't even see the bridge. Like usually when you stand by that parking lot, the small dirt parking lot, you can see the bridge, but like we couldn't. So I was like, oh my god. So I'm already dreading this. So we get there, get on that bridge because that's the first thing you touch or step on, and you just hear like cackling just out in the woods, right? You're just like, they knew what's going on. They knew we're gonna come back. And now one of my friends ended up like, I'm staying in the car. And I'm like, no, don't stay in the car because what if we go in and something just comes out here? You know what I mean? And they're like, no, there's like a barrier. There's got to be a barrier. I was like, I don't think there's a barrier. I mean, we already went through here. We didn't do anything like my grandma would have been like, get a rock there, you put it in your pocket. When you leave, throw it on the ground kind of thing. Right. So all that bad spirits stays there. But we already were there, we already messed up, we already like we got too involved. Right. So we go in, but it's no longer like a trail, right? It's not no longer a park. It's just like a straight, narrow path, right? You can't see all the way down, but it's just woods left to right. So you don't want to go through there. So you got obviously walk that path. And as you get further in, there's just more screaming of donkeys.
Uh,
Yeah. And they don't scream nice. If anyone that hasn't heard like that Taylor Swift meme or anything like that, but like they don't scream like
oh yeah, I heard it myself.
normal.
Bridge, and oh, it's terrifying.
Yeah. and they just keep going. So you're just like getting that tense fear. Like, do I keep walking? Are we really here for our phone? And as I like look to my right, my friends are slowly like disappearing. Like they're not there. Right. I think Talamantes was the last one that was with me. And he's like, I can't do this. You got to go. And he like just fades into like the woods. I was like, what do I do now? Like, again, my thing was like, don't walk back without like a purpose. But my walking back is like to flee or safety, but that's just giving the being more power. So I have to keep going forward. You know what I mean? There's no going back, because like I said, if you go back, I think that's when you lose.
Yeah.
And so when I get there, it looks like it's not a house. It looks more like a small asylum, right? There's bars on the windows. It's just squared off and everything like that. So I can get in, right? And there's tile, and it's broken up. And I just look to the left, and there's a woman sitting there in a wheelchair. And I'm just like, I don't want to talk. All right. But as I look like away to go like maybe further in, and I don't know why I'm in here now, right? This is like a dream, you just do stuff and you just go forward. And I hear buzzing on her, like blanket on her lap. It's a phone, right? In my head, I was like, that's my friend's phone. Right. So as I go up to her, right, I'm just like, hey, that's my friend's phone. Do you mind if I can have that back? Try to be as nice and like possible. She doesn't reply, doesn't say anything, right? She seems like she's asleep. So I like reach out for it, right? And as I reach for it, she grabs me by the like wrist, right? My wrists start burning, right? Now my hands are like melting to hooves.
Dang.
Right.
What the?
Yeah. And then I woke up because I like my dream was so real. Like I felt like I was actually burning. Like my hands felt like that ice cold. Yeah.
Tell you what, yeah.
So I woke up and I was like, I don't want to tell anybody. I was scared.
Yeah, that's intense.
Yeah.
Yeah, dreams do feel real. The pain and everything is crazy.
So that was my encounter.
Hey.
But I would ask like John's feedback on that, and like Talamantes, like,
yeah,
because Talamantes ended up wanting to. That was the other thing. I don't know if that was just me. He wanted to go back a lot. A lot. Yeah, right after.
Dude, that's how it was the first time I found out about it. I was like addicted to it.
Yeah, but why? Like I was like,
then it's weird.
Maybe it's fear.
It might be, well, curiosity for me. Like I was
Right.
like, I've never seen apparitions before. I can always see, like it was that kind of thing. Like, what is this, and why is this so intense? Like, it's just crazy. But ironically, I wanted to keep going a lot, and Tom was the one warning me, like saying, "Hey, man, maybe you should slow down." But that's when I hear you say he wanted to go a lot. I'm like, oh, surprised.
Yeah. And it's weird. I don't know what draws people to it or what makes them want to go. I don't know if it's like they want to scare people, but you don't end up scaring anybody. Like you end up getting scared, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like what draws a person there?
Yeah, I mean that's a good question. Like I don't know about you, Isaiah, but like for me it was like I said, like curiosity, because you can't just go around anywhere and see an apparitions, at least not unless like not me at least. So I was always skeptical of like that kind of stuff growing up, even though I'm Catholic, but like until you see with your own eyes, it's like, damn, man, this is insane. Like seeing a shadow figure, and like what me and Jose saw, or me and like two other friends saw, I think. So it's like, yeah, I think that's what made me want to keep going. Like I want to see more. Like it's like that satisfaction. Like I kept chasing it because I was like, oh, I didn't get enough because I ran away right when it was getting good. I want to go farther next time. I want to go farther.
Oh man.
It almost makes me think of, I don't know if you guys have seen the movie Shang-Chi.
It sounds familiar.
The new Marvel movie that came out.
Oh yeah.
So I don't want to ruin it, but there's like a voice that's calling him. It's like apparently it's evil, right? But he thinks it's good. And so maybe it's that, like it like subconsciously is calling you back.
Yeah. I mean, I've always had a morbid curiosity, as you can tell from my films.
Yeah.
But Yeah, maybe. I mean, Jose, you said there was a voice talking to you on the path that you thought maybe it was either your mind or something outside your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever experience that, Ryan? Like, or any of your friends, like some like hearing voices, but not outside, but inside of your head?
What do you mean? Like,
Yeah, it's almost like something is speaking to you, but it's just like you get the words, but in your head, like somebody's like, it's almost like when you're counting in your head, like three,
yeah,
like
yeah.
you can kind of visualize the words in your head, but like, have you ever like, did you ever get an experience where something was like talking to you like inside your head and you're like why am I getting these words like here in my head?
I think we had, especially on the bridge, because like there are like signs. I don't know if it's by instinct or nature, like telling you to run. But like there was a time where I was like, do I run? Like questioning myself. But like we weren't walking, I wasn't scared. Like, why am I telling myself to go? Right. And then there's times where it was like, go this way, right? And again, there's paths here at on those trails, and it would be like go this way, but then when we did go that way, I would forget like what did I just do? Where did I just walk? But just by either by us holding hands or just by them being there, I felt like I'm okay. Am I supposed to be here? Right. But I do recall afterwards, there were times like, besides like wanting to stay asleep, right? Not depression, but maybe it was. I don't know. It could be, right? It could be depression, it could be something. But there was one time, and this is when I was with John in the dorm and I was washing the dishes in Marion's sink, right? Uh, there was a time I was like, kind of want to break something. Kind of want to just like throw these dishes, right? And I'm a kind of chill kind of guy. I do get like upset like anybody else, but like throwing stuff or breaking anything, that's just not me. I always find it's dumb. Like if you get so mad, you break something. Like what's the point of it? Because you're gonna have to clean it up. You waste money. Blah blah blah. Right? But I was like, I really want to, right? It wasn't like anything. It wasn't just like, oh, I just want to break something. No, it was more like I want to break the glass in the Marion doors,
I was
right?
specific. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, kind of looking at it, right? It wasn't like I was gonna like do anything, but like I stood in front of it. Don't know why again, right? I was in the middle of washing dishes. It was like, I want to break it. I want to break it. But like, why do I want to break it? Like I kept telling myself this, like, why do I want to break it? What am I gonna get out of this? But like, kind of want to break it. It's getting more like convincing, more like just see what happens. I mean, I'll maybe pay for it or whatever, but we're gonna break it. Right. The only thing that kind of stopped me, I don't even know if I would have, but like possibly would have, is John was walking in the door. He like knobs, like turns and whatever. I was like, oh. And he like looks at me and he says, like, what are you doing? I was like, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't. And that I do remember that. It was kind of weird. And like even now, like anytime that I see like movies or shows, like kind of like they break things when they're mad, I'm just like, think about that time. Like kind of wanted to break that Marion window, that mirror. And I still am like, I should have broke it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
It goes back and forth. Yeah.
yeah. So
Was there like an
Right, not
image on it or something?
that's a weird thing you say that because I don't remember even seeing myself in it.
Oh.
Like I just see mirror, like just reflection, but not me, just reflection. And that's the thing. Like I don't remember looking at myself, talking to myself, or anything like that. Like, hey, I don't want to do this, but like it's just a mirror.
Yeah,
Okay,
you're
so
focused on that.
yeah. So I don't even know if my reflection was there.
You know, that's interesting because that reminds me of Jose, what you were saying. It was kind of a back and forth thing for you too. Like you said, the thing was telling you, you've come to see something, right? And it
Mm-hmm.
was like egging you on, like, hey, you come here and you're gonna see something. And you're like, no, no, but you kept pushing it away, but it kept trying to push against you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It was almost like I was having an internal conversation with something like, and I kept it kept on saying like, you come here to see something. I was like, no, 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 we're walking away. We're walking. And then it just like would stop my conversation. I would just come back like, no, you came here to see something. It's like almost like if it was interrupting
Oh
everything that I
wow.
was trying to say. I was like, it seems so abnormal because, I tend to be one of those people that kind of lives sometimes in their head. I have a lot of
Yeah.
thoughts and ideas and whatever. And so I talk to myself a lot internally. But in this occasion, it was almost like I couldn't control the other side of the conversation. It was almost like something was like actually talking to me, but internally, it's almost like telepathically in a
Yeah.
way. If that like that's the closest thing I can associate it with.
Yeah, you've never
Like,
experienced it before. That's what's interesting.
yeah, it's so weird. Like, and again, I mean, it could have been fear, and like that
Right.
spurred something inside of me that I had never felt before or never experienced before. But it just seems so real that there was something external like speaking to me, and I
Mm.
was like, what the heck? And I kind of looked over at my friends and I asked them like, hey, did you hear that too, like voice or something? And they were looking like they were freaked out,
I do remember that.
and they're
Yeah.
they're like, no, I don't hear anything. It's like,
Yeah,
man,
I
like
remember
that's
you
crazy.
whispering with him when we were all walking and like locked arms and stuff. But like the fact that it made you even go out of your way to do that says something, you know?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
It's interesting, man. So I did want to mention or ask one last question, if I can. Like, I wanted to see if, I know you told us that your aunt was the one that talked about the story. Did you ever find out if it was passed down by somebody else? Did she have any personal experiences as well? Or how did this come about?
So my family's very big and horror, scary. Like everyone goes all out on Christmas or even Thanksgiving. Like us, it's Halloween. Like we make a week or something. Like, hey, next week we're gonna watch scary movies. Like I think 2 days ago, we watched a bunch of slasher movies. We watched the new Halloween movie, all that stuff. So that's what we do, right? So we always like telling stories. We go camping. We tell like scary stories. Like they've been through. They my grandma's house used to be haunted, right? They have stories, and again, like as a kid, I believe them, and I can ask them to this day, word from word, same thing. Like it's not made up. I feel,
Yeah.
people can be like, oh, it's just a story, but like when someone keeps fact for fact, it's not a story. It's real, to me at least. But it was one time people were talking about how people would sit on a railroad track somewhere around here, and there'll be like kids that push you because there was a bus that got hit by a train and killed like all the kids in there. And if you put like baby powder on the back of your car, go to that spot, there would actually be like handprints there. Right? And it could be myths or not, right? I've never done it. I can't vouch for it. I can't say it's right, wrong, or whatever, right? But that's when my aunt said, like, have y'all heard of Dunkley Bridge? I say no. But like the older people, I was like 12. Like this is like a story, and the older folk were like, "Oh yeah, we heard about that," and they said their story. Again, it was kind of different, but kind of the same. Uh, Again, it's 1800s. Like both of them said 1800s, like in that time. So there's actual timeline in this, and these are people like my family's very friendly. They'll be nice to whoever, and these are strangers, right? They know it's around the 1800s. My family knows around the 1800s. And this is not like Wikipedia was here, you know what I mean? At that time, it was like still like anybody can change that as like a Reddit or something, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so they were just talking about it, like, yeah, and they're just conversing of the story of like how she got killed, murdered just for being who she was. I was like, have y'all been there? They're like, no, we haven't been there in years. And they then say like their stories and talked about it, and they're like, oh yeah, I wouldn't go back. But for if it's being passed down, like to answer your question, I'm not sure. I think just everyone knows somehow. Like you never go there for the park. You never go there because there's a park nearby, or you only ever go there that I ever known if knowing the story. So I don't know if that's part of the loop or that's part of the thing. Like someone's like, oh yeah, I've been there many times, but have you been there at night? No, they don't do that. It's usually like, I've only gone at night to go see the story is true or not. You know what I
Mm.
mean?
Yeah.
That makes sense. And I don't think I told you, Jose, but me and my mom went during the day because I was telling my mom about all this stuff, and we just happened to be in San Antonio, and we're like, "What happens when we go during the day?" Because we don't. My mom's not going to go at night in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And we still heard something. It's crazy. Like we didn't go that far in, but we heard like a strange noise. It's like a mixture between a human and an animal, and just like I was like, "What the hell?" Like even during the day, there's weird stuff, or I don't know.
Yeah. So I don't know if there's anything in the back. Like you said, there's probably something back there. There's probably, you never know if the
Makes you
house is
wonder.
still there. Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
But I've never heard anybody like adventuring for it or looking for it. Right.
Mm.
And I don't know if you hear, but the screams are always in one way. So they're never like different directions. It's only one way.
Yeah.
And again, like I wouldn't go test it. I wouldn't go check it out. Like,
Yeah, I'm almost like I don't want to never go back again. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's two other
And
things to ask.
yeah, you were gonna say Steel?
Oh yeah, there's just two quick things. So like I was wondering if you ever experienced any distortion on the path at all, or like fuzziness, blurriness, like weird kind of the way the leaves look, anything like that? Or?
yeah, I would say for sure.
Because you said it was kind of like a tunnel, right?
Yeah,
That's what me and Jose noticed right away. Like
Yeah.
one
yeah,
thing we really noticed is the leaves almost are like a double vision kind of thing where it's like ghost.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I was gonna say it's like it tunnels, and then it also like if you look to the side, it just gets dark, and it's just like I saw this like a couple seconds ago. Why
Yeah.
is it gone now?
Darker, dark patches, and it's like blur. There's like a blurry, strange filter over. Like it is like a
Yeah,
tunnel because the deeper you go in, the thicker it almost seems.
yeah,
Um, and then the other thing I wanted to ask was like, why don't more people know about this? Like, it makes me wonder. Like, ghost hunters. Like, they went to like the Yorktown like hospital, I think, the haunted hospital. They went to the U.S. Lexington, I think, or something else haunted. So I'm like, why do more people not know about the Donkulator Bridge? I mean, it's so haunted. Like every time you go, something crazy happens. So I'm like, huh.
I would say it's because it doesn't have a indoor spot.
Yeah,
A lot of ghost hunters, everything, you have to be in a building, whether to set up their stuff. But like this is a trail. This is a outside. You can't really. You can set up your equipment, yes, and maybe
really,
they're like, oh, just this is a park, right?
yeah,
But again, like I think it's different from these ghost hunters that do it in building wise and not like a field. I'm sure there's many fields that are haunted, whether it be through massacres or just deaths or even graveyards. Because I'm sure at times there was grave robbers, that's disturbing their peace. And I'm sure there's a haunted area because of that. And I do believe like there's cold cases of people going missing in random parts of the woods, but it's just like this is a normal park. Yes, abduction stuff does happen. But there's times and there's cold cases that are like, how did they disappear? Like, there's no way explaining how they disappeared. No trail, and yeah, you can go hard scientific in it, but like, there's little areas like that are outside that don't get enough spotlight for being so haunted. And this, I do believe that you're right. Like, this is one of them, and I do like if you want to go get scared, but like be careful. Like,
yeah,
this is
yeah. Oh
something I
yeah,
wouldn't like
I
take
agree.
lightly.
I agree because the effects it had on psychologically, it's intense. It's no joke. It's definitely not a joke. But that makes sense, because in a building you have it's because all the electrical equipment they have to set up and the cameras with
Yeah.
stuff. That'd be really hard to do outside. But man, I think it'd be so cool if they did that, if it was possible. Like,
When we did this, as we go on about this, John also had a dream.
oh,
And I don't know if you remember, but he had a what was it? One of those, I forget what it's called. It's where you're paralyzed in your sleep
oh
though.
yeah, sleep paralysis. Yeah.
He had that for the first time. And that was like a couple days after. I don't know if he remembers it, but like sure
Huh.
he does. But I don't know. I don't know remember if he told you.
No, I didn't know
about it.
what
Yeah,
happened.
but he probably explains better, but like he was like on his bed, but like he saw himself, right?
Whoa.
And
Was this after he went?
yeah, just ask him about the dream. I don't know if he thinks about it of the time, like you know what I mean, like when it happened, because we went our freshman year, and this was like afterwards. But again, like the more that we talk about this, it's like there's pieces that kind of line up now that I understand. Um, but yeah, I would ask him about that dream, the sleep paralysis dream. I'm sure if you just say that, he'll remember. But like he was just there on his bed, like asleep, that he woke up, but he saw like himself, like a negative version of himself, right?
Huh.
Uh, and I think his eyes were black or something like that. And
I remember
he
this.
was just, I think it screamed or it said something to, I think it said something to him. And like he just couldn't wake up. And he was like super freaked out from
That's terrifying. I would be.
yeah.
I have that. I have heard that Talamantes must have told me, or maybe John told me at one point, because I remember him saying something like he saw himself in his black eyes and stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was tied with that though. That's intense. But
Like,
so yeah, I'll jump to Jose. Like, what do you think? Why do you think the Don Clay Bridge is so like why aren't people investigating this stuff? I mean, it's happened to all of us, obviously, and it's happened to us multiple times. Like every time we go, something happens. So why aren't more people? It's not like I'm sure people in San Antonio know about it, but like, you know what I mean?
yeah, and I think, you know, maybe people do know about it, but it's more like low key because maybe they don't want people to just go missing in the woods. Maybe that's why they don't bring too much attention, because the places that they do go into, like Ryan pointed out, they're buildings. You have to get access into them sometimes. You have to have permission sometimes for different buildings to get access, because maybe they're restricted or something like that. And so it's not like a swarm of people are just going to be trying to like get in, right? But in these places it's so open, it's so available that it's just so easy to like encounter that. And so maybe that's something. But it made me think like, well, if parks, this park, if it's from the 1800s, like they formed that area into a park, right? So why didn't they decide to build on it? They had the Donkey Lady
Yeah,
house
it's
there.
pretty run
Like,
down.
why didn't other people decide to settle? There was already a house there.
It's
It makes
just,
me think about that, because, or maybe somebody did try, and that's what we see in the Google Maps, like
right.
something burned down, and so I don't know,
It's
maybe
just
something mysterious.
such a mystery, and I think for me, I just
That's
want to be
cool.
investigated. If I had the ghost equipment, hunting equipment, I would investigate it myself. Like if I had
Oh
all
my
the stuff,
god.
Still,
I want to have evidence,
he's
man.
brave.
I want to capture some evidence of this stuff because it's crazy, dude. I've never been to a place where every single time I go, I experience something crazy, and but like
It's
the
so
last,
crazy that it's like 5 minutes away from my house.
yeah, no,
Oh, wow.
It's
yeah,
like the same road, the jet road right there. It's the same one that leads to my house.
yeah, I wouldn't be able to do that, man. I'd have to move.
It's crazy.
After all that stuff. But like the last thing I wanted to say is because I didn't get to say this on the last podcast we talked about it, but like me and you, Jose, talked about it a lot. We theorized about it so much after. We were like, dude, what if this place is like, because portals, we don't know much about portals. This NASA saw them opening and
Mm.
closing like on the atmosphere and like outside of the Earth and stuff. But we don't
Another
know
dimension.
100% if that's what it is, but randomly, right? So like it makes you wonder: is this Donkey Bridge? Is there some type of like portal there, or some type of just access to higher parallel universes, a strange higher dimensional thing there, like, or is it like the electromagnetic field is all messed up? Because I know there's a lot of different theories about that as well. Like, there's so many questions of like, I would love to.
Yeah.
It makes me think like maybe the pain of that woman, kind of captured some sort of emotion in her environment that almost froze like that whole area like in time. And so when you start going into it, it's a tunnel that brings you back into that time period almost.
Yeah, and that could be part of it, because in the tunnel we were thinking about, oh, that's like the portal, or like this whatever it is, however it works. I don't know a ton about it, but the little I do know, it makes you just wonder. Um, Because it is, I know for a fact that that place, man, once you step foot on that place, something changes. I don't know. It's a feeling you have, and it's the deeper you go in, you feel it. It's just hard to explain.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like my question is like, why did it become like that? You know, did the did the lady have some sort of like, because I associate it with something similar to like Auschwitz, right? There was a lot of death that happened in those concentration camps, and one of my cousins who recently went, she was telling me that you get this uneasy feeling when you walk into that place too,
Like,
right? So it's almost like dead souls are just like wandering. I mean, it's not something we can see with our own eyes,
yeah,
but maybe you get that feeling of like that yearning, that pain. It almost is absorbed into the environment.
and I hear a lot of paranormal investigators talk about energy and stuff like that. So it does make
Yeah.
sense for the energy that's left behind. And I don't know, what do you think,
Yeah.
Ryan, about all this higher dimensional theories?
Yeah. So like I said in the beginning, like I do believe energy just like doesn't go away. And like when this Salem witch trials, yeah, there was like some witches, there was real and there was wrongly accused.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe when people are wrongly accused or purely innocent and then murdered, killed by just rage or being upset and just by smite, right? That's how Salem witch trials happen. People were just smiting each other because they just didn't like each other. That's wrong. You know what I mean? Like just because you don't like someone doesn't mean you get everybody to kill them. That's the
Right.
same thing like this story, she wasn't in the wrong, all right? This was like some little kid. This was like someone like messing with her. And then just even at that, it's a donkey hits the kids or whatever. It doesn't kill him, right? It doesn't nowhere in the story that I was told like the kid dies or anything like that. It just got hurt, right? Does it make sense for you to burn that house? Does it make sense for you to kill the person after like disfigured, Uh but that's the same thing, that energy, that just negative energy that's there from these people. And I'm sure there's stuff like with Hitler and stuff like that. I don't know if I can say that, but like that, I'm pretty sure if you go to those camps as well, like Jose was saying, like you get that uneasy feeling because that's negative energy that just people had for innocent people.
Yeah.
But where's that gonna go? I mean, that's always gonna be weighted on everybody. Like if we think about it, that's weighted. But if you go there, like we went through these places, like it's a different feeling. Like why is that? It's because
Yeah, it makes you,
those thoughts, the energy is still there.
yeah, you can't see the energy, but it's
Yeah.
that's the mystery, you know? Because like I said, a lot of paranormal investigators talk about this energy they feel there, and it's always about energy. It's always about, well, maybe the history is just stuck in that time period of when those events happened, and it's just repeating
And,
itself, and the energy is repeating itself or something.
and I do believe that's like a great amount of energy for like that can't just be undone. You know what I mean? They say you'll always remember the bad, right? You'll easily than your good times, right? You always remember like the bad times quicker too. So is that the same for this negative energy? Is it easier to relapse? Is it easier to feel because the good energy is so hard to remember or feel?
Yeah, it makes you wonder.
It almost makes me think of, I don't know if you guys have seen WandaVision,
Yeah,
the the
See
the
some of it.
series. So Wanda, out of her rage of losing her husband, almost creates a bubble around her. Like those
Oh
emotions
yeah.
kind of like surround her. It's almost like people who like you said, maybe like feel a strong emotion or maybe wrongly accused. They because in the podcast we sometimes talk about like sending vibrations. Well, like what if we like send out vibrations when we like pass away, maybe
Oh,
that's what people talk about, like your ancestors are with you kind of thing, or like they pass it on. And so I'm not sure if she like didn't have anywhere to pass it on other than her environment, and so it's
so it's in
her
the environment.
presence is just left there.
Yeah, it's just stuck in the environment. It's stuck at the Dunkulator Bridge. Right.
It's thoughts.
There's so many things we don't know is what we've learned. Like there's so much more. Well, the last thing I'll leave it with is like, I wish I could get scientific equipment and just test it out. What's the electromagnetism levels like there? What is this like there? I want to see, I want to know, is there
Yeah.
something different about this area compared to other areas? Like I really want to, I would love to like investigate with scientific tools, with ghost hunter stuff, but yeah. It's
Let us know
Cool.
how that goes, too.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
intense. That's intense.
Sounds good. Well, we'll wrap it up. Thank you guys for listening into the podcast. If you guys enjoyed something that we talked about, maybe something that you thought was really interesting, let us know in the comments. And also, if you have any maybe questions for our guests as well, we'd be happy to answer them for you. Let you know, like maybe something that kind of caught your attention or still had questions about. We'll drop them down below, and also subscribe to our channel. Hit the bell button so that you get notifications of our weekly videos. And until next time, we'll talk to you soon. Take care.